Okay, here it is, the band everyone's been talking about. The Amazfit Helio band, only £99 with no subscription. And for the past week, I've been wearing this alongside my Whoop, comparing the data, features and wearability to see if this really is a Whoop killer or is it overhyped filler. But before we get started, I just want to say I don't have any affiliation to either of these bands. There's no links in my descriptions below. This is just my honest opinion. Starting with the Helio strap. I was actually surprised to find out it's lighter than the Whoop strap, around 20 grams versus the Whoop's 27 grams. That being said, it doesn't feel as comfortable to me as the Whoop strap. It's a little chunkier and the device is noticeably a little bit bigger. The Whoop strap, I can honestly forget I've got it on sometimes, whereas the Helio just a bit chunkier and kind of reminds me of the Casio watch strap I had when I was in primary school. The Helio boasts a battery life of 10 days, which is actually accurate. I find a lot of trackers tend to overpromise with their battery life, a little bit like how guys overpromise on dating sites about their height. And this little guy is the battery charger. Just pop it on, plug it in, and it takes about 2 hours to fully charge. Unlike the Whoop where you can charge while you're wearing it, you do have to take the Helio off for a couple of hours every 10 days. Again, not a big deal. At some point over those 10 days, you're probably gonna watch TV. So now instead of binging a show, you can just say that you're charging your Helio strap. Now onto the meat and potatoes, the tracking and the app. The data lives in the Zepp app, which at first glance looks very similar to the Whoop's main page. But instead of sleep, recovery and strain, we now have sleep, exertion and biocharge. Initially, I thought they just rebranded the Whoop terms, but there is actually some key differences to these features. Starting with exertion, which is kind of like Whoop's strain. The main difference here is it only tracks exertion when your heart rate stays above a minimum threshold for at least 3 minutes. So if you're walking briskly or working out with your heart rate elevated, that counts. But it doesn't continuously track heart rate or activity all day like the Whoop does. So basically, Helio's only tracking your strain when you're working out or exerting yourself, whereas the Whoop will track your strain all the way throughout the day. It's also incredibly easy to max out your exertion at 100. I'm talking one gym session and a bit of walking and you're there. For example, one day when I maxed out the Helio strap at 100%, my Whoop strain for the day was only 9.8. So if you're an active person or if you do endurance sports, this exertion rate is going to be maxed out at 100 every single day. And in that case, it kind of makes this feature obsolete. Next up, we have biocharge. Similar to Whoop's recovery, you get a daily score based on sleep quality, recent exertion, rest and heart rate, and HRV. You also get a little insight into how replenished you are. Also, unlike Whoop, biocharge updates throughout the day, slowly going down like a battery. Not sure how useful this is. I actually only usually check the app in the morning and didn't even realize this was a feature until I started doing a little bit more research for this video. And finally, we have sleep. And similar to Whoop, Helio tracks your sleep stages and gives you a score out of 100. This score summarizes how well you slept, how much deep and REM sleep you got, how often you woke up, and your resting heart rate, which indicates recovery quality. Now the main difference here is Helio uses a fixed sleep quality score that doesn't adjust to your needs, whereas Whoop actually calculates your sleep by how much you pushed yourself that day as well as how well recovered you are, so your sleep can actually change daily. However, unless you're serious about your training and recovery, this isn't a big deal. However, the sleep tracking is the first issue I did start to experience with the Helio band. On my first night, it said I only slept for 2 hours, while Whoop recorded a full night's sleep. So the next night, I switched the bands over and that seemed to solve the problem. However, wearing both bands all week, there seems to be a massive discrepancy between how much REM and deep sleep I've been getting. For example, on Monday, my Helio said I got 8 hours and 5 minutes sleep with 1 hour 26 of deep and 1 hour 1 of REM. But my Whoop said I got 7 hours and 45 sleep, 2 hours 24 of that deep and 1 hour 37 of that REM sleep. And this seemed to be common throughout the week, with Helio consistently reporting a much lower deep and REM sleep compared to my Whoop. Now this might be due to my low resting heart rate, which is around 44 beats per minute. I've had trouble with fitness trackers in the past, specifically the Ultra Human Ring really struggled to know when I was asleep and when I was awake. I believe Whoop's sleep tracking is more advanced and attuned to low resting heart rates, so it picks up more deep sleep stages. Again, this only really matters if you're really trying to optimize your training and recovery. If your goal is to just get like 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, it doesn't really matter. Right, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Helio strap. If you're looking for a deeper dive into the data and hardware, I suggest checking out DC Rainmaker's video. But personally, I'm impressed. But is it better than the Whoop? For me, not really. Whoop feels more designed to optimize performance for an athlete or someone who enjoys training. It automatically detects your workouts, helps you improve your sleep, and I've really been enjoying the new health span feature, which has helped me do more cardio to try and lower my Whoop age. But Helio also has a very strong argument. It's £99, and if you want the Whoop experience on a budget or you've never even had a Whoop, then you're probably going to love the Helio. But if you take your training semi-seriously and you've been using Whoop for a while, I don't think you're going to want to make the switch. That being said, with some improvements and maybe a better name than Biocharge, in a few years' time, who knows, this really could become the Whoop killer.